All right, sports fans out there, that's right. It's Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, and you are listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Hey guys, so here we are again for the first time in 2016, as we are now going to be bringing you a 2-for-1 special. On this YouTube video, we're going to bring you Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and on our next YouTube video coming in just a few moments, it's going to be the Nasty Boy, Brian Knobbs, and Drew Anderson. Check it out.
You maniacs, this is Hulk Hogan, the greatest of all time, and you're listening to The Blaze. So what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan and Blaze a Maniac put a cloud on you?
Back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with me right now is a gentleman who's joined us a few times before, but I'm glad to have on again. Please welcome the one and only Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Brutus, are you with us?
I'm here.
All right, it's great to have you on the show, and we're having you on to talk a little bit about this Saturday, coming up in just a few days at the, gosh, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Mikosagi Event Center. You guys are going to be having the Legends of Wrestling, which will feature a lot of the great names, yourself being included. Are you looking forward to this Saturday?
Absolutely, man. I think they call it Mikasuki, but I'm not even sure either. Yeah, it's a great thing. You know, we're going to be doing, and getting a lot of guys together for the fans to meet and get a chance to meet one-on-one and shake their hands and talk to them, get a photo with them and everything. And it's a great opportunity for the fans, and it gets us out of the house and it gets us to have a little bit of fun.
Absolutely. And you're listed as wrestling, I believe, on this card. Are you going to be getting in the ring?
I will be in there. I don't know how much. I'll be doing the hair cutting, really. That's my part. I'll leave the wrestling to them young folks.
You leave the wrestling. Okay, so you don't like getting in there much anymore to do full matches?
I do. But I'm pushing 60, brother.
Yeah.
And I started when I was 19, so.
Absolutely. Last time I saw you in the ring was on some YouTube videos of you wrestling in the Hulkamania tour, which was, gosh, that goes back 6 years. I can't believe it's been that long. But you still looked great then. Still look great.
Well, I appreciate that. I still try to, to keep active and do what I need to do here. And,
well, I guess my question for you is, this event, which is coming up, is really getting a lot of fanfare, and it is very popular with us people of our generation. I read the website for the Legends of Wrestling, and they talk a lot about people in their 30s who grew up watching you guys, and that's definitely me. Why do you think the nostalgia is so great for wrestlers of the 80s and 90s?
Well, it's because the actual wrestling of that era was that was the heyday of wrestling. And you might deny that, and so many guys electrifying, just the personalities, the storylines, the things that were going on. I mean, people just really fell in love with wrestling. It was a great time. Even Hollywood jumped in, got on board, and they wouldn't have anything to do with us in the earlier years, in the 70s and the 60s. Hollywood, shunned wrestling, but then all of a sudden, bam, wrestling became the coolest thing in town. Everybody loved it, and then, and it's a great honor to be able to be a part of that, and I'm happy to be alive still, because a lot of my compadres aren't here with me, which it saddens me horribly that think of all my friends that should be sitting here right now, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm glad that a lot of people get to see some friends I haven't seen in a while, and we'll have a great time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was ironic you said that. The last time I did anything regarding the Legends of Wrestling was shortly after Roddy had passed, and we had David Penzer on, and he was talking about the event where you guys found the news, and man, that was heart-wrenching to hear, and we have lost too many. So I think us fans who grew up watching you guys, who are seeing, unfortunately, some of the guys that you never ever even thought about leaving this earth, leaving us, then we definitely want to embrace, and thank you guys and for all that you did, because for a lot of us, and I'm going to include myself in this, you guys are our childhood, so we appreciate it tremendously that you guys are out there doing this, and also encouraging some of the young guys, because it's not just you guys, it's not just the legends, but it also is some young guys that are going to be appearing at these events too, having the matches, as you alluded to.
Well, no, it's great that these guys mentored me. My mentors were King. What's the guy's Baron von Raschke, the Vern Gagne, guys from an era, Bobby Duncombe, old timey, Mr. Wrestling 2, Ivan Koloff, Bobo Brazil. This guys from the 60s and 70s and were the guys that mentored me. And it made a big difference in my life, and it helps for these younger guys and up and coming guys to be able to rub elbows with some of the guys who were there and did it, especially us, because we were the privileged few to really be doing it like it's never been done before, and like it will never be done again. Not trying to be too arrogant here, but just saying. It was incredible, and it's an honor. It was a privilege to be there. And there's so many guys are so close to for so many years. And we had a real brotherhood. We had a brotherhood of guys that stuck together and watched each other's backs, and there was no backstabbing going on in our dressing rooms. And just guys stuck together, looked after each other, took care of each other, and that's why our business was so successful.
You said already that you don't think it'll ever go back to that again, but is it possible that we could ever get a boom like that again, where it's that popular and the guys are like that again?
You could get a good boom, but they'd have to go back. They'd have to go back in time and try to get back to a simpler time, much simpler time. It was just about the good guys versus the bad guys, and a simple storyline that people can relate to and understand without 12,000 tangents and this side stories. And it gets lost in translation. And that's what the beauty of our era was. We kept it simple, made it believable. We worked our butts off out there night after night for people. I think they appreciated that. The amount of professionalism that our business demanded. I have people today just asking me, what about this? How did you stood on the ring corner and you pounded Rick Rude in the face 5 times? How did you not kill him? I said, well, he goes, it has to be fake. I go, no, fake's not a good word. That's not the way it is. Yeah, I'm hitting him. Well, I'm not trying to break his nose or smash his teeth out or anything. He full well knows he's got somebody up there hitting him, but we got to wrestle tomorrow night too. So I'm going to take care of him and make sure he's okay, because if I can't wrestle him tomorrow night, I'm out of a job.
There you go.
And so I'm a professional, and that's what I do. And
Absolutely.
I'm proud of it. And I wrestled, and I invested my entire life into it. Not here, not 10 years, not 15 years. I'm talking 40 years almost. I mean, maybe 39-ish, 40. We're close.
Wow, very close.
And there's very few walking the planet on 2 legs that can say that.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You mentioned a little bit about some of the young guys that you could mentor, that you can give back the way that the older generation mentored you. And I guess my next question is, you were a trainer of sorts. The last time we spoke to you, you were just getting started on Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling. Now, I know nobody expected Todd Bridges or anybody like that to ultimately become a wrestler, but what was it like to train people who really had never done wrestling before?
Well, it was extremely difficult, but it was rewarding on the other end to be able to see guys who put a lot of effort into it. And Todd Bridges, what an athlete. That kid had talent. I mean, Todd was incredible. I have his number. We talk from time to time. Nicest guy in the world. Bonaducci, arrogant little prick, we were face to face, but he impressed me. I had Butterbean's a fighter, I had Butterbean. He's a fighter. He's a tough man and everything, and we knows a couple times everything. But I didn't back down to nobody. I don't care how big. I don't care how bad. I don't care how strong. I don't care what. I am Brutus Beefcake, and that is that.
Well, I love it. And I was doing some research before we started recording, and I was racking my brain because I kept thinking, well, he's got to be a Hall of Famer. He's got to be a Hall of Famer. And I'm like, I don't remember him ever going in, and I did research, and lo and behold, you're not. So is that something that you aspire for? Do you aspire to be recognized by the number one governing body of wrestling, the be-all and end-all at this point, that is the WWE? Do you aspire to be in that Hall of Fame?
I feel confident. It will happen when it's ready. When the time is right, it will happen. I've been invested in multiple Hall of Fames from companies all over the country.
Yeah,
slash world, different, federations, and which is always a beautiful thing to be, put on a pedestal, and honored for my achievements. And the WWE thing, I'm sure, is going to happen. Between me and you, probably sooner than later. I don't want to give anything away here.
Okay.
But I think there are some things in the works. They have their ways of doing things. They announce people ahead of time sometimes, and then other times they don't announce people till real close before the event.
Okay. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. All right, cool. So with that in mind, speaking of the Hall of Fame, and I hate to do this, but I have to put you a little bit on the hot spot. We talked a little bit about Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling. We talked a little bit about the Hulkamania Tour. I have to ask you, and I've got my own opinions, and you're talking to probably the world's largest fan. So please accept this question in the guise of which it's intended. Do you think that he'll get out the other end of the media barrage that he's taken in right now, the intake that he's taking, as they call it, the incoming?
Do I think what? Do he deserves it?
No, that he'll come out the other end of it unscathed.
Absolutely. I don't know about unscathed, but Hulk is a survivor. He is an innovator. He was a leader of the pack. He was miles. He was fucking light years. Let's just fucking tell the truth. Light years ahead of people. Light years. He took Vince McMahon's company from fucking in the ground floor below the Lincoln Hotel, and where they were all having dinner in Boston or whatever, to the fucking Quasar, fucking whatever it is. On the Avengers. What's the name of the planet there?
I can't think of it.
Oa or whatever. The Green Lantern planet, Oa, the center of the universe. I mean that's how far you were able to help pick those guys with, getting WrestleMania started, and WrestleMania's caught on to be, the greatest thing ever, biggest pay-per-view stuff and everything, and just so much happened there. Sometimes they say, one good deed can't erase one bad deed, but 1 million zillion, and a guy I know my whole life, everybody makes mistakes, and I think the Lord says, forgive and forget, and forgive those. You forgive those and turn the other cheek and move on. Forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Forgive is divine. And people need to understand he's not perfect. He had things in his lifetime. He's human too. Everybody expects him to be superhuman. Well, I guess it's not.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan was human for a minute.
Yeah,
and he did some stupid stuff. But there's nothing we all haven't done.
Exactly.
If you haven't done nothing, here's a stone. Start throwing them. I don't know who's going to have a stone.
Right, exactly.
The way I know.
That's exactly right. Yeah, if you've got kids,
you
and something's going wrong, sometimes everything you know is right in your head and your heart. It doesn't matter. If you get something that really gets under your skin and you'd fear for their safety, you're going to say things that you wouldn't normally say and things that you wouldn't even think or even mean. And you got to put this crap behind you. And I personally have not liked the way it's been handled. And I'm glad to hear you say that you think he'll get out the other end of it because, to this day, and I'll tell you the truth, to this day, every now and again I'll throw on my Hulk Rules shirt or my Hulkamania shirt and go out and, you'll get 10 people who come up to you and say, awesome, great shirt, and you'll get that one person and say, how could you wear that? And it's like,
yeah.
What are you going to do?
That's being in the real world.
Oh,
but
boy.
that's okay. We're willing to accept those.
Exactly.
Those odds, those losses and stuff, whatever.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep you on for just a few more moments if I could, but I wanted to talk to you again about Saturday. And is there anybody that you're looking forward to meeting up with at the Legends of Wrestling event that you haven't seen in a while?
I haven't really seen the whole list. I know Mr. Kennedy is a good friend. I haven't seen him in a while. I need to see him. And Bushwick Luke is one of my neighbors. And I know Coco's going to be there. But I'm not sure who all else is going to be there.
Scott Steiner, Goldberg.
Okay. I haven't seen Goldberg in a while. That would be cool. Scott I just saw recently, but that's cool.
Nasty Boys are going to be there, obviously.
Yeah, I see them, yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot. They got a whole list of guys that are going to be showing up. Tyrus from TNA is Brutus Clay. I don't even know if you guys ever would have even met. I don't know.
Brutus Clay,
yeah,
they got a few of the guys.
All right. I got one more question for you. It's an interesting one. I mentioned the Nasty Boys just a second ago, and when Hulk first started with TNA, some of the guys that he's been known to be friends with got opportunities there, like the Nasty Boys, like, friends at the time, Bubba the Love Sponge. But you never really showed up there, and I was curious, was there ever an idea to bring you in to work there, or did you not have any interest in doing so?
Well, actually, there quite a few times there, and with Hulk, because he asked me to come with him and hang with him, and there was talk with Dixie Carter about bringing me in, and then nothing. I didn't push it. They didn't. They kind of dropped the ball on it, and I didn't push it, and it just never happened. And I really, at this point, I don't care. They needed me more than I needed them, brother. I mean, they have no credibility to lend to me. I only have my credibility, which is, on a fucking uncontested and without fucking question, fill into them.
All right.
That's
actually. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking this time with us. We've done 2 prior interviews with you, and during that time, we went over the stuff that I'm sure you probably get just bored, stupid talking about over and over again. So I wanted to talk about mostly the modern stuff, and obviously promote this Saturday, Miami, Florida, Misagi, or however we pronounce it, Casino and Event Center. You guys are going to be doing an autograph signing and a wrestling event there, and it should be a heck of a show, one for the ages. And here's hoping that you guys are successful with this, because this looks like something that could travel the entire country doing various events. I know you guys have done baseball games in the past and, appeared, and the fans really reacted to it. So hopefully this is something that could head out not outside of Florida, and maybe we can see something travel and do something.
I would love it. And if I may be so bold, I do just like to say something to my daughter, Alana. She's 19. She's in school in Connecticut. I don't know. She's in a nursing college up there. I can't even pronounce the name of it. I'm very proud of her. I love her very much. I don't get to speak to her very much due to problems, which I'm sure you can guess. ex-wife problems, but I just wanted to put that out there, from a dad to my daughter, that I love her, and hopefully someone will hear this and tell her.
Well, what I can do is I can do you one better. I'm going to type up a transcript of this and send it out to all the wrestling sites, and I will make sure and put that quote in there for you.
I appreciate that, brother. I really appreciate that. And also my wife, Missy. She calls herself Missy Beefcake. She's on Team Beefcake. And Missy Beefcake. If it weren't for Missy Beefcake, I don't know what I would do. So.
And she's your wife. You only got married a few years ago, correct?
Well, yes, it's a couple of years. Yeah, I was in a long-term marriage and was divorced about 7 or 8 years ago. And I recently was remarried to a beautiful, wonderful person, and she has grown-up kids and everything. And she is just she helps me manage my business. She takes care of me, and she is the love of my life.
That's awesome, and I'm glad to hear you're happy, sir. And I know that it's been a long road, and I'm glad to hear that you're in Florida again, and you're happy. And man, I'm happy for you. I couldn't be more happy for you.
This is Kimberly Page, and the Wrestling Epicenter would like to apologize for the following.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. It's James Walsh, joined as always by my buddy Patrick Kelly. Patrick, are you there?
I am here. How you doing, man?
It's been a while, huh?
Yeah, it has. It's been God, when was the last time we did one of these?
September, actually.
Jeez. Okay.
We took a break. Yeah, Bob Backlund was the last one. I got to tell you this off air. On air, actually. I didn't even tell you this off air. Bob Backlund called me up on the 23rd of December.
Okay.
And he said, I just wanted to say thank you again for helping me to promote my book and wish you and your family a Merry Christmas.
Aw, that's sweet
so,
guy.
I'm going to say this. Bob Backlund catches a lot of flack for a lot of things. I don't know that I've interviewed a nicer person. I'm being, in all honesty, either he, A, likes me because I'm a little nutty too, or he is just genuinely that nice. I don't know which, but I like him a lot. He's a very good guy. And speaking of nice guys, this show, we're bringing you a 2-for-1 in our return show, as we just got off the phone with Brutus Beefcake, and we also have Brian Knobbs on the show. So that's a third-time guest and a first-time guest. So
we've had Beefcake twice before? I remember the one time, but...
We had him on in 2005 as part of Eric and my WrestleMania recap shows, which was like that was the career retrospective one. And then we had him on, and I barely remember it, so it must have been a fairly brief one, in 2008 to talk about the Hulk Hogan Celebrity Championship Wrestling.
Ah, okay.
Now, I don't really remember that interview, so that's not to insult the interview. There's a lot I don't remember, but we did have him on in that time, too.
Well, when you've been for 13 years, you know.
Yeah. Some of them do run together, but usually I remember if it's somebody I grew up as a big fan of, and I certainly did with Beefcake, so I would have remembered that, especially if it was to promote something Hogan-related.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, cool.
I guess it must have just been one of the a couple of them, because I remember there was those guys, and Knobbs was one of them, and for whatever reason we never got him. But those guys were doing interviews like around the clock to promote this thing. Yeah, we ended up interviewing Tiffany, which was just bizarre.
Yeah, that was I remember I couldn't make that one.
You couldn't.
And
I got your Jetson question in, right?
Yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah, because that's how I first knew her. She was the voice of Judy Jetson in the movie.
I bought the Jetsons movie the other day. They had it in the $5 bin. I thought, I'll buy this because of Tiffany. But if you know the story about that, Gordon Hunt, who is Helen Hunt's dad, is a legendary voice acting producer. And he did the original Jetsons, and he did the Jetsons movie. And the voice actress who voiced Judy Jetson was apparently distraught and heartbroken that she didn't get cast in that role. And that was a studio thing. They wanted a pop star to voice one of the characters, and she was really upset. And she was older, too. If you look at the cast of the Jetsons, most of those people, if they're not, obviously most of them, if not all of them, are dead. Most of them would be well over 100 years old.
Yeah, well, funny you should mention that. I remember seeing Judy Jetson, her original voice actress, on an episode of I Love Lucy. So this is back in, the 50s? And she played a teenager in that. So that gives you an idea of how old she is.
Exactly. And George Jetson, give him the credit. Gordon Hunt, this is what we're way off topic. He did an interview with Rob Paulson's podcast, and he said that the voice of George Jetson, and for the life of me, I can't remember it. I probably remembered it in 5 minutes, but I don't remember it now, was at death's door when they did that movie. He was blind. He couldn't hear. So the entire set was Gordon Hunt wrote it out in large print and screamed it into his ear what he should say and how he should act it, and he acted it out. So that was the last thing he did, and he died before it actually hit the theaters.
Yeah, him and Mel Blanc, if I recall correctly. And it's funny because if you watch the movie, there are certain lines that Mr. Spacely and George Jetson say that don't really sound like them. And I'm thinking that those were lines that were filmed after they both passed.
I will have to go back and rewatch the movie. I love the Jetsons TV show, though. That was one of the ones that I would watch every day before school because TBS was in love with that and Scooby-Doo. They used to play that all the time. So.
Fun times.
And don't forget Saved by the Bell. That seemed to always be on.
Yeah. Every morning. It's the perfect show. Saved by the Bell is the perfect show to show before going to school because it's literally about going to school.
It kind of is, yeah. They had the hot chicks, and they were pretty good. And one of them ended up in striptease, so that was a bonus. Or was it? What was it?
Showgirls.
Showgirls, that's right. No, it wasn't striptease.
Which is one of my favorite bad movies ever.
Yes.
It is seriously like a masterpiece of awful. If you like bad cinematic schlock, you will like Showgirls. It is just it's a beautiful disaster.
Now, Brad Siegel, who ran WCW for a time and TBS and TNT, I thought this was hysterical. At the time when he was telling people in interviews that he did not want wrestling on a station because he didn't want such smut, movies for guys, I joke and call it movies for guys who like movies, but it was really just movies for guys who like movies, was showing on rotation Showgirls. Now I'm thinking, I don't like smut, but you got Showgirls on, and then right after Nitro, there's this show called Bull, which is nothing but interracial sex on desks. I mean, where is your line here, man? I guess having a girl in a thong is the line, but
Well, Showgirls, the TV version with the cartoon bras is probably even funnier than the real version. So, if you have a chance to see that as well, I highly recommend it because it's equally hysterical.
It's probably popular. That's probably as enjoyable. Like watching the Osbournes on TV was enjoyable. Have you ever seen the Osbournes on DVD?
No.
It's not funny. You know why? Because it's not censored.
Interesting.
So when you hear like, Sharon, fuck, it's like, no, just shut up, you idiot. But when you hear beeping, it's kind of, it's for whatever reason, that little beep noise after a while just gets humorous to you.
Oh, okay.
It's a weird, trust me, it makes sense if you watch it. Anyway,
cool.
So we're a wrestling show.
Wrestling, this is a wrestling show, right?
Sometimes. The Legends of Wrestling, the reason we did these interviews is coming up on Saturday in Miami, Florida, and it looks like one hell of a roster. They have Goldberg, they have Scott Steiner, they have the Nasty Boys, they have Brutus Beefcake is going to be appearing, as well as Mick Foley. Tyrus is going to be there, as well as a lot of other guys. Kurt Angle is going to be there as well. There's going to be a full wrestling show, as well as a meet and greet, and Kevin Nash is going to be there as well, I believe.
Oh, cool.
A lot of the guys are going to be doing this show, and it's as far as I know, it's one of the first times that they've not attached it to another event. Like it's not like the side show at the baseball game, where they do a match or two after the game, or they do a meet and greet at the seventh inning stretch or anything like that. This is their own thing happening in a casino ballroom, and it looks like it could be fun. It reminds me of, I don't know if you ever saw it in the 90s, in the late 90s when they did a Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that one?
Was that the one where, I hate to bring this up, was that the one where Jake got drunk?
Jake got drunk and said, "You want to play blackjack? You got 21? Well, I got 22.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, and he started masturbating with the snake. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so bad that they had to It ended up being a tag.
I don't know if you want to compare this event to that, because that event was kind of a disaster.
And yes, the other part of the disaster was it was Dutch Mantel calling the action with another guy on commentary, and I don't know who he is, but for whatever reason, and I have to believe it was a rib, he had, or was selling that he had, some kind of a erotic crush on Stan Lane. Like, he was wrestling Tully Blanchard, Stan Lane was, and they kept saying, look at Stan Lane, isn't he magnificent? And everything he did, he's like, he's such a handsome man. It's like, you kind of like him, don't you? So it was bizarre.
I think they were taking advantage and making fun of a guy that clearly had no experience calling a wrestling show. He sucks, so let's just have fun with him. He
clearly did not know very much. I mean, I remember he did a drop kick and he called it a flying leg attack. There was a lot of little weirdos to that one. That was kind of like, you couldn't have gotten anybody else to do this. I mean, Gorilla Monsoon was still alive. Could you?
Well, he was knocking on death's door at that point.
At 99, oh yeah, I don't think he lasted much longer. I don't think.
Well, I remember he appeared at WrestleMania 15 for a brief little cameo, and I looked at him and was like, he doesn't look very good. And sure enough, I think it was like 2 or 3 months later he passed.
That's right. Gorilla did pass away right before it. I take it back. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man. That, by the way, for those who are wondering, I have started writing our next Hall of Fame induction. If you haven't checked it out, it's pretty cool. We have a Hall of Fame section on the Wrestling Epicenter website. First inductee was Hogan, and the second inductions were the Poffo family, as Randy requested. So it's Randy Savage, Lanny Poffo, and their dad, Angelo Poffo. So if you want to read those write-ups, it's really good. And the third inductee, it's no secret, I've kind of announced it without writing it up yet, is going to be Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Cool.
So I'm going to write up a good write-up on Bobby Heenan. And for those who like to read books that are on websites, I tend to overdo it with the writing, so you probably have like 60 pages to read by the time I'm done with this thing.
That's not so bad.
There you go. All right. So, yeah, one of the big premier events that's coming up this weekend is the Royal Rumble. And I wish we had Ben Benya on the phone because the dude's obsessed with the Royal Rumble. But
well, it's an easy thing to get obsessed with because it's probably the most sports-like thing that wrestling does because it's so wrapped in statistics and all these other things that it's actually got this. It's really weird. It's got its own like little fun things that you can follow. Who gets the most eliminations? Who lasted the longest? And yada yada yada, all that stuff. And because it's so wrapped and bogged down with statistics, it's actually really fun to talk about.
It can be. It can be. I always, and this is the weird part where I sound like a dick, but I never was a big fan of the Battle Royal match. It always kind of felt like a lot of shit happening, a lot of people just stomping and punching, waiting for something big to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I never was a huge fan of the actual matches. The Royal Rumble's a little bit different because of the interval entrances, which kind of cuts down on that whole sea of chaos. But it still has that to some extent. Once the ring gets filled up, it still feels that way.
Right, but like you said, I think having the entrance go in one at a time creates a whole different dynamic that makes it a little bit more fun. And it actually gives them room to do some neat things, like having some guy return and beat up a guy that put him out of action or whatever, and all sorts of little neat things to do.
Speaking of Jake Roberts, remember when Macho Man ran down to the ring to get at Jake Roberts that time?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Oh, yeah, and they used to do all sorts of crazy things like that. They still do to a degree. It's just that I think this year, with so many injuries and so many things that they had to change and switch around, I don't think they have any idea what their card for WrestleMania is going to be this year yet. I think they're kind of just making it up on the fly.
Yeah, I think that they had a tentative idea, but with Cena going down injured, that's going to throw a lot of it out of whack because he's clearly the number one guy that they're interested in, with Roman Reigns being, at the moment, a close number 2.
I think they want to transition to Roman Reigns. It looks like that's what they want to do.
They have no Cena, so they have to.
No, I think Roman was going to main event this WrestleMania no matter what. I think he was kind of the one constant. What plan they were going to have other than that, I have no idea. I had heard that Reigns and Cena had been suggested, but again, everything was so kind of up in the air at this point, so nobody really knows.
Absolutely true. Well,
but Yeah, Cena's hurt, so I guess supposedly he's going to miss WrestleMania. I say supposedly because they've told us before that Cena's going to be gone for 6 months with an injury or with surgery or something like that, and then he comes back like in half that time. So, we'll see.
Was he stumbling?
He was. I wasn't even referencing that, but for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was that infamous bit where he got slammed through a spotlight and came back the next night as there was not a mark on him. It's like, okay, come on, but as our friend Andre said, he was stumbling. So he was selling it.
Oh, man. That's the problem with today's. It's so, there's so much on a show. Well, at least there used to be. Now it seems like there's nothing on a show. But there used to be so much on a show that they would book a year's worth of storylines and fit them into a month. And it was overcomplicated to the point of there's now no selling, so you have no reason to care. It's like when Hogan got squashed by Earthquake 35 times on the Brother Love show, you felt like you were going to be losing a character possibly forever, if not for a long period of time. And now, I don't even know how Cena actually got hurt, but there was no injury like that. And whenever there is kind of the, oh, my God, how's he going to survive this kind of thing, he's back the next night.
Right,
so.
Right, exactly. Well, this injury was legit. I think it was a nagging injury that just kind of, he had to go get checked out and get surgery for or whatever, but they didn't actually have time to do an angle with it. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. And part of that's there's just too much TV time. The guys are on TV every single week, and because of that, nobody really feels that special. And that's why, actually, you know what, you look at the guys that do feel special are the Undertakers and the Brocks and the Rocks, the guys that are there 3 or 4 times out of the year. That's it.
Ironically, that's how the territory system used to work, is that a guy would be there for a while, and when he kind of got boring, and people were bored of seeing them, and they have already done their shtick, they got sent elsewhere and maybe brought back if they did a good job, when they could have their character refreshed. That's not the case anymore. Now it's basically, we're going to use this guy and this guy and this guy, and that's it. You better get used to them because that's our roster. And
we'll ram them down your throats until they get hurt. I mean, that's basically what they do.
Basically, and it's unfortunate because it's not fair on the guys either. Because we always are saying, well, the guys aren't as good as they were back then, and to some degree, I agree with that. They're probably better athletes, but in terms of showmen and having their own personas, there's no comparison. I mean, you can still walk into a crowded mall, and I use this example a few times, and go, ooh, yeah, and people are going to know what the hell you're doing. You could not do that with Roman Reigns. If I go up to somebody and say, believe that, or whatever the hell he says, they're going to look at me back and just think, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, and part of that's the system that they get brought up in, where, I mean, the writers, back in those days, they would pretty much just let the guys come up with their own crap, for better or worse, and you would get unique personalities come out of that. You look at somebody like Roman Reigns, and I'm not shitting on Roman Reigns, but he's a guy that's been brought up, born and raised in the WWE creative system where they've had control over every aspect of him. And in the end, it just feels like an overly produced product that they put together, and it doesn't feel like something organic or natural. And that's true for a lot of guys. It's not just Roman.
No, it's absolutely not just true for Roman.
And then you have the added problem of guys being on TV every week. I was actually talking with somebody about this a couple days ago. Look at Neville. I mean, look at that guy. This is a guy that can do these incredible, amazing things in the ring and fly all over the place, and the red arrow looks amazing, but he does it every single week. And at what point do you stop caring? It's like, yeah, they look pretty, but I see them all the time.
Well, it's the Andre effect. We had the great Khali, who legitimately is bigger than Andre the Giant physically. And instead of him being a novelty, we just thought of him as a big guy who sucks. I hate to sound crass when I say that, but that's what people thought of him as. They thought he was a big guy who sucks. And ultimately, that's how he was. That's what happened. He ended up as a jobber, despite the fact he was bigger than Andre physically, and that whole mystique was not there. Because, again, we saw him every week. He didn't go somewhere else. He didn't get sent down to World Class or Mid-South or over the Southwest or somewhere else to work for a while.
Why was this kept off TV for long stretches? Like, let him just murder somebody. I hate to use that term because he actually did kill somebody in the ring, but let him just destroy somebody, then have his mouthpiece just cut promos for him. And let something breathe, and you don't have to force him onto the show every single week. That's and they can do that with a lot of their guys.
Yeah, but the belief is that if the guy's not on the show, that they're not getting ratings. That's the belief.
Which is a fallacy because the ratings have been steadily dropping for years, and they've been doing this for years. So
it is a fallacy, but you can't. There's Vince things, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can ask Vince what keeps his pants up, and he would not be happy to say the word belt at me. There's just weird things, and we all have quirks.
Vince has a ton of them.
But he has a lot of them. But then again, he's wealthy, so he's not batshit crazy. He's eccentric. That's the difference. If you're wealthy and you're crazy as shit, you're eccentric. If you're poor like us and have these same quirks, you're probably going to end up in an asylum.
Yeah, probably.
Well, anyway, speaking of people that WWE's brought up and people that they didn't bring up, the surprise, which is getting to be not much of a surprise, for the Royal Rumble seems like it's going to be AJ Styles.
Which, you and I talked about this off the air. AJ's great. Lately, like the last year or so, his work in Japan has been amazing. His work in other promotions has been amazing too. Ring of Honor. I saw the match he had with Lethal in December. That was great.
It was pretty good. I didn't think that was up to his usual standards, but it was pretty good.
Pretty good considering he was just coming off of a back injury. That was his first match back after. I think it was his first match back, but yeah. But the match he had with Nakamura in Japan was also very good, and. Yeah, I think he should be a great fit in the WWE, but the problem is, and you brought this up, they're going to do it to him what they did to Sting, where they'll make it look like he'll have a good showing, but then they'll have him lose and go, oh, welcome to the big leagues, kid, and do all that other crap, because apparently the WWE is the only place that has ever mattered in the history of professional wrestling, and what you do outside of the company doesn't matter. And actually, I was watching SmackDown a couple weeks ago, and Mauro Ranallo, who's the new commentator over there, and he's great, he tried to reference Becky Lynch's history and say, look, I saw her outside of the WWE, and I knew she had talent and potential back then, and yada, 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 and really trying to put her over. And then Jerry Lawler said, yeah, but she's in the WWE now, and that's what matters. Basically like saying, stop referencing shit, because if it didn't happen in the WWE, it didn't matter. And I'm just like, oh, my God.
If we don't know that it didn't happen, damn it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you saw with Sting last year. I mean, his first match with the company, everybody's excited. Everybody is like, all right, this is a neat attraction for WrestleMania. We really like this. He's going up against an old guy that's part of management now. So, all right, so him going over is not going to hurt anybody. And what happened? They had to make a point. They had to make an example of it. We're still in that Monday Night Wars period, and I guarantee you that's exactly why that decision took place. That's exactly why Triple H went over, because it was like, we can't let WCW get over on us, even though WCW's been dead for, 16 years, 15 years?
15 years this year, yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, 14 years. But yeah, this is, and they did the thing, though, they did the thing before it, and we've discussed this ad nauseum in previous shows. I'm not defending WCW. That would be ridiculous. That's an exact quote from Sting to Triple H.
Yes.
And yet the entire storyline of that match was exactly that he was fighting for WCW. And it's like, do you even watch your own show?
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, I fully expect AJ to come out. He'll hold a couple of high spots. And then he'll get crapped upon, and it's going to be JBL who does it because he seems to be the one that Vince McMahon leans on, likely because he's the one that nobody can shout down, to say the ridiculous WWE rah-rah shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's going to say. He's going to say, welcome to the big time, kid.
Even though he's like 37 or whatever. How old is AJ?
He's older than me, but that doesn't mean anything. I guess he's probably about 37, 38.
Yeah.
Which is not that old, but when you consider he's been wrestling for going on 20 years.
Yeah. But I'm saying he's not a kid. I mean, this guy's a veteran, like a very seasoned pro that's very good at what he does. And, you know, I mean, if they have any kind of beef that they want to, you know, use to make an example out of him, okay, sure.
Can you really name that many people who came from TNA that made a good name of themselves?
Not many, no.
Xavier Woods has done okay.
No, but nobody remembers his TNA run.
Well, yeah, what was he, Consequences Creed or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, he was there, but no, I mean, like, look at Monty Brown. He went there, and it's like, it almost felt like they hired him just so TNA couldn't use a guy who was actually getting over.
Well, TNA had already fucked up with him by that point, but yeah, it was...
There was a window of opportunity there for him, and they did screw it up. You're right, but
yeah. He was probably the first guy that they really messed up with. He's the first one I remember seeing. It's like, oh yay, big superstar, and then it didn't really pan out. And I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah, and then there was Chris Harris.
Chris Harris, yeah. Well, he got. I don't know what happened to him, but is he even still wrestling?
I don't think so. But
yeah, I don't blame him.
What happens is, and I can tell you this from a couple people's experience, one of which is going to be an upcoming guest. Ultimately, your goal is to get to Oz. And once you get to Oz and you figure out that the wonderful wizard, this genius that we're all told about, is just a guy, then you kind of fizzle. And I believe that's what happened to Chris Harris. I believe he's like, oh, great, I get my shot at WWE. You know, granted, I was getting a real big push in TNA by the time that I left. But they got rid of him. He ended up going to WWE, and they gave him a ridiculous character. They did not redo segments that were botched backstage. It's like, you know, they do thousands of takes of those. They didn't. So.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Oh, it sounded like you broke up.
Yeah, I got interrupted. I got interrupted there for a second. All right, so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I fully expect AJ to make his debut, but I don't think he's going to be. I think he's going to be all the internet darlings who are thinking he's going to win. It's going to be the most un-Vince thing to do, and people aren't expecting it, so that's going to make it awesome. Really? Do you really believe that?
No, he's. My fear is, and this is what was suggested to me, is that Triple H is going to win the Rumble and win the title. He's going to come out as a surprise entrant and win the Rumble, and then it'll be Triple H and Roman at WrestleMania.
Yay!
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 Yeah. Which, you know, I wouldn't even debut AJ in the Rumble because then he's going to lose his first match. If you don't want him to win the title, I would bill him as like, because we all know that AJ's coming. That's the thing. We all know. So I would just advertise that he's going to be there and he's going to have his first match in the WWE and just put him up against some schmuck like, I don't know, Heath Slater or something and let AJ just squash him and go over and look good doing it.
I would do that, but that seems to be old school. Logic seems to be old school. Well, Chaz Taylor, who was a guest on our show, a year ago already, he posted a picture, and I don't know what the hell the picture was advertising, but it read this: "As un-old school as you can get," was the tagline of whatever company that had this billboard up. And he said, "I don't know what they're selling, but if I go in there, I guarantee you everything's ass backwards and nothing works." And I was like, yeah, pretty much. So,
yeah.
Speaking of what you just said, building on that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a TNA guy who they're building up now. And I'm going to tell you that I like the package, and that is the Miracle.
Mike Bennett, yeah. He's
Mike Bennett.
Yeah, I've been watching him for a while now. He was in Ring of Honor. I'll be honest, I haven't watched too much of what he's done in TNA so far. How is it?
There's potential.
Okay.
I'm not going to say he's realized the potential or realizing the potential, but there is potential there.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say this, and there's a couple thoughts I want to get out on this, and you can feel free to either tell me I'm wrong or give me an opinion on this. The highest-rated episode of ROH on Destination America was the one that they had on the ticker tape, on the little advertisement when you view it on your cable box, advertising that Maria Kanellis was going to be on there. Now, I know that's a very un-ROH thing to say, and that ROH fans don't want to hear that, but in reality, I believe that that's why the rating was twice their usual rating. Because whether I like it or not, or whether anybody likes it or not, sex sells.
Yeah.
And I think that her being part of his package is an amazing plus to his career.
And she's actually good. That's the thing. She's actually, like, I think she was very good with the Kingdom as their valet, and I think she could play the same role with Mike Bennett in TNA.
Yeah, I mean, I've not really seen her wrestle much. I've seen her have a few matches, and what I have seen was...
Well, she's not really a wrestler. She's more of a manager. But in that role, she works great.
She does. But she does do matches. I've seen her have matches, and I have to believe that with the incredibly shrunken Knockouts roster, they'll have no choice but to, at some point, use her in matches. But she's not like your usual valet that can't take bumps. She can take bumps, too.
Oh, I saw her take a super kick once, and it was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
I was really impressed.
Well, I think that there's potential there. So with her on his arm, I think there's a very real possibility for them to build him up. What I will say is there's a lack of continuity with the character, in that they had him debut on Wednesday, the 5th, and on the 7th he had a live pay-per-view match. And then on the 12th, he was talking about making his in-ring debut. And granted, that was probably taped before the pay-per-view, but somebody should have, given him his itinerary for the week so they could have built.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for that. I blame TNA, planning. But I don't know. That part kind of fell a little bit flat. He could probably, and by all means, he's in much better shape than I am. He probably could benefit from maybe looking a little bit more like EC3 physically, like, chiseled. But he really is a character that I think has a lot of legs. And the return of James Storm is a great thing for TNA, because we keep talking about guys who ultimately would probably get shat upon if they worked WWE that did not make their name there. Granted, I believe Storm won his matches in NXT.
He only had the one. I think.
Yeah, but he worked a house show too, I think, too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he's a guy that I think that ultimately would have gotten crapped upon if he went to WWE, so he made a good choice if the money is there to stay in TNA. I hope it is for him. I mean, he's got a family, so I hope the money's better than some of the guys get. Yeah, he's a guy that I'd frankly, and I don't care what his age is or what he looks like physically, I'd still push towards the top of the company, because they need to use homegrown talent, especially if they can bill him as the one that got away from WWE.
Yeah.
Gives him a little bit extra sheen, as opposed to the guys that are the opposite. Like EC3, who I like, he's a developmental guy that they didn't hire.
Didn't he? I could be wrong. Didn't he win Tough Enough? Or am I wrong on that?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I don't think he
was. He on Tough Enough or something? Or maybe I'm getting confused with somebody else.
I don't think so. He could have been, but I don't remember him. I really don't watch Tough Enough, but the one who won Tough Enough was this big goofy guy, and nothing ever came of him. And then I don't know who won the most recent version of the show.
Yeah.
But
it's really funny. A lot of stars have come out of Tough Enough, but the winners don't normally amount to anything.
I believe did Maria come from the Diva Search?
She came from the Diva Search, yeah, the very first one.
The very first one. There you go. So
the cocksucking gutter slut.
What?
Don't you remember that segment they did where they were saying you suck cock to Carmella and all that weird crap?
Oh yeah, that was wonderful. Yeah.
Speaking of not wanting smut on your TV show.
Yeah, that was before they were officially PG.
Yeah, clearly.
Well, that was a Vince thing. Vince wanted this Carmella one to be the one that got over. I guess he thought she was the most attractive or whatever. And it's like, dude, she's got no character. Any personality she shows is unlikable.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly you want her to win because you're giving her every opportunity. But for God's sakes, it's just not there. And it seems like some of those things that Vince really goes for, he tries to really force the issue. I mean, you could probably say that with Cena, but for all he does for the kids, I have no problem with Cena.
Well, I mean, again, Cena's another. I've seen him outside of the WWE system in interviews and in cameos in movies and stuff. He's actually a really funny and likable guy. I'm like, why can't we get that guy on the wrestling show? What is the problem here? Because you turn on the wrestling show and he's just an obnoxious little pandering doofus.
Yeah, a guy from Boston comes out wearing a Giants jersey and things like that. It's like,
yeah, shit like that. Yeah.
You're going to tell me that you're not a Patriots fan? You're from Boston, dude. Come on.
A Boston sports fan telling me how great Brooklyn is. I'm like, fuck you, dude.
I love the Yankees. Yeah. Who wanted you to have Babe Ruth? I don't know. It just seems pathetic. I like what you like.
Yep. That's Cena's catchphrase. I like what you like.
That's right. Oh, man. So I'm going to wrap this up now, but we have two guests this week. First time in a long time we've done that. I want to get your take on this. And he didn't say it, but he basically said you should be hearing soon when I asked about Brutus Beefcake going in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, I can't say anything, but you should be hearing something pretty soon. So that tells me all I need to know to deduce that most likely he's going to go in the Hall of Fame this year. In a Hall of Fame that has Trish Stratus, who's still in her 30s, which, by the way, I've argued against until I was blue in the face, and nobody cares, so what's the point? With Drew Carey in there, and I'm going to say it even though I don't have a problem with it being in, Coco Beware, I'm curious how people are going to react when Brutus is put in the Hall of Fame.
Well, and I've met Coco Beware. We've interviewed him on the show. He's a very nice guy. My standards for Hall of Fame is pretty high. To me, like the best of the best of the best should be in the Hall of Fame. When you start letting guys like Drew Carey in there, it's kind of like, well, okay, maybe it's not meant to be taken that seriously. And really, it's just a thing to get a nostalgia pop at this point. So, I mean, I don't really have a problem. As long as you don't take it too seriously, I don't have a problem with Brutus going in.
I think he's pretty much earned it. I mean, if you really think about it, he's main evented some pay-per-views. He's been involved in other things. Certainly more than some of the other ones that are in there have done. So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
even though a lot of people do consider him a Hogan's guy, that just.
Well, he was, but
to some extent. But it's funny though, and we can argue how good of a worker he was because I think he's better than Flair. But isn't Arn just really a Flair guy? Arn Anderson?
Well, you see that with a lot of guys. I mean, look at the WWF roster in the mid to late 90s. Most of Undertaker's friends had a job on the roster. I mean, look at guys like Dennis Knight and the Godfather and Yokozuna and all those. Those were all like Undertaker's buddies.
Oh, makes sense. And, the top guys.
Yeah, and you see that a lot.
Top guys will bring their guys in or have their buddies put over. I mean, remember when Conan won the title from Chris Jericho in WCW, and basically every one of Nash's friends had a belt. Whether it made any damn sense.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
When the Hardys went to TNA, or when Jeff Hardy went to TNA, he brought Shannon Moore with him.
Yeah, who was at that point in no condition to be there. I do think that by the time they did Ink, he kind of was in the right frame of mind. But the Prince of Punk or whatever the hell he did, he seemed like he was an arrogant prick to me. Maybe that's just me, but that's the way he came off.
I don't know what that Shannon Moore. I don't know. He was another one of those guys that was an internet darling, and I was always kind of like, yeah, he's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, dude. I hope everybody enjoyed these two interviews. We're back to doing things.
Cool.
We have an interview coming up in a couple of days with Rugged Rod Price, who was the GWF champion, as well as a ECW performer who was involved in a lot of brawls. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. He's one of those guys that had all the potential to be a lot more than he was, and for whatever reason just never got that chance.
Mm-hmm.
He had the flowing blonde hair, which he started to lose, so he had a rug stapled to his head. Okay, go with me on this, right? So
Okay.
he had a rug stapled to his head, and then he wrestled Chris Adams, who didn't particularly want to put him over.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Adams pulled the fucking rug off his head.
Oh.
Blood everywhere.
Ooh.
Thinking about it hurts. So, yeah, he's a guy who had a lot of potential, and a lot of people do remember, but unfortunately just never got the break that he should have had. There's been a lot of guys like that, Bill.
Wow.
Anyway, dude, I hope everybody enjoyed this interview. I hope everybody checks out thelegendsofwrestling.com as well as their Facebook page. They helped us out immensely with this. Brian Knobs himself called me up and helped me get Brutus on and agreed to do this show. So hope everybody checks out that show on Saturday, the 23rd in Miami. And again, find out more information at thelegendsofwrestling.com. And when you go, tell them the Epicenter sent you.